What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. I haven't posted anything in a very long time. I kind of forgot about this, but I've gotten back into a little bit more of investing in sports cards, primarily in Bowman. So if you're into this kind of prospecting where it's pretty high risk, but if you pick the right guys, you can minimize that a little bit, but super high reward. This is going to be the channel where I just highlight a couple of guys at least once or twice a week just to go through to try and give you guys a better understanding. If you don't follow it too much but like to start getting into it or find some new prospects you haven't heard of. Today we're going to be going over Alfredo Duno, who is a very high known prospect. He was, I believe, the number 4 guy in his international class just a couple years ago in 2023 or 2022, but he really didn't play too much his first season, especially at catcher due to some injuries that he had. And he has had a couple of different injuries throughout his early career, which have sidelined him from either his catching, where he just played DH, or just sidelined him for short periods of time. But today we're going to get a little bit deeper of an interview into his stats, as well as some of his prices and cards I'd recommend looking into. Now, this is a guy that I have invested a lot into just because I'm a Reds fan, and I really do, though, think he is going to be a really good prospect. As you can see here, he is only 20 years old, and he's the number 2 overall prospect for the Reds, soon to be number 1, which Sal Stewart, who's going to start off for the Reds in the majors this year most likely, and once he finishes his prospect status and moves on to the majors and isn't a prospect anymore, Duno will be that number 1. If you look in the top right, you can just see some of his grades from MILB. 50 hitting, 50 power, a little bit below average of run, really good arm. His fielding, just kind of as a catcher, pop time is kind of lacking and something he has to work to improve on. But with that big arm, I think he should have the ability to stick at catcher, especially considering the Reds are thin there and there are no catchers above him in the system. If you look at his stats a little bit, you can see here when he started off in the DSL, stats don't really matter too much in the DSL. It's about how once they move over to the States and make that adjustment. But he did have pretty good walk to strikeout ratio, which is something I like to look at in the DSL, just because a lot of these guys, although they're young, saying that little presence when they're younger and in the DSL of being able to stay away from certain pitches. I do really like that he almost had a 1-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio. He has shown some pop through his extra base hits. You can see he had 6 home runs, 9 doubles, and even a triple in the DSL. And he's continued flashes of that as he moves on into the majors. He started off 2024, although he didn't play too many games due to injuries like I talked about. But he still had those good, extra base hit ability through his 116 limited at bats, but you can see that walk to strikeout ratio really dipped. And that was something I was really intrigued about coming into this last season to see if that was just a fluke due to injuries, if he's forcing stuff, or if it's just the transition from the DSL to A ball. And we can see in his first full season sample size here in 2025, in which he won Florida State League MVP, he had 18 home runs, 32 doubles, and 2 triples, so 52 extra base hits is outstanding. He had more walks than strikeouts. And again, if you look at his stolen bases, he's not a threat on the base pass just due to his speed. But winning Florida State League MVP in a league that is primarily pitcher friendly, although the Reds do have a more hitter friendly park in that Florida State League, but that's something I'll touch on a little bit later in the video if you want to skip ahead to that, is just that he really did outstanding and he won MVP honors. He tried to carry that into the fall league, which if you look at his just stats from the regular season there and just under 50 at-bats, it did not look anything special with his 213 average. However, again, he's going to keep that high walk rate and lower strikeout rate. But what really is important to me is how he played in the playoffs of the Arizona Fall League. This is just one article that I read. In his 3 home run game that he had, look at these balls that he hits. 102.5 miles an hour off the bat, 107 just under 108, which was 453 feet. And then he followed that up with 109 mile an hour off the bat, 456 home run. What a performance. This was his only multi-home run game of the Arizona Fall League. It happened in the playoffs. He had a game right before this where he hit another really deep home run. And it just kind of shows that he has to get a feel of things. He was one of the younger guys in the league, one of the youngest. And it just took him a little bit of time to get a feel for things. And we can see that he really, really crushed it in the playoffs. So we'll see if he can carry this into the next season. I like to look a lot at fan graphs when I'm looking at players just because they give more of these advanced stats. So these are all pulled from fan graphs. But if we just start by looking at his averages, we can see he's hovering in his two full seasons in 2023 and 25 around a 19% walk rate and around a 20% strikeout rate, which strikeout rate is totally fine. I like that his walk rate is so high. You would ideally, in a perfect world, like to see that K rate go down just a little bit, but with the pop that he has off his bat, I'm not worried about it at all. I think it's fine. And we can see that he's still hovering around that each year. So if he can consistently be around a 19 to 20% walk rate, 20% strikeout rate, that's not something that worries me at all. And the biggest jump is we can see his ISO power here jump from 0.191 to 0.231. I mean, that is some of the highest in the minors you're going to see. And one thing that I really liked this year that stood out to me is this batting average on balls in play being at 330. Normally, you see guys that might have a high batting average, and then you can see that their batting average on balls in play is super, super high, which means they're getting lucky. While his 330 batting average on balls in play is kind of high, it's not one of these outrageously high ones that we see with some prospects in lower leagues where it's like 400, which kind of indicates a little bit of recession incoming in the next season through prospects that I've looked at. But again, it's not some crazy number that scares me a lot. And we can see his, OPS is really nice year over year. And then the one thing that I really like is this WRC plus. For those that do not know, 100 is an average player. His being at 163 this previous season means he was 63% better than the average hitter, which is just, it's the reason he won MVP in the league. He was insane this year. But that is something that I want to keep seeing. If he can continue this, he's shown flashes. In his 3 seasons, I kind of am excluding 2024 just due to the amount of injuries that he had and being one of the lowest players in A ball, youngest players, but it was still a 126 OPS. He still had an almost 800 OPS. He is a stud at hitting the ball, but it's his defense that is one thing that if he can improve on that some more, that's going to boost him up the top 100 rankings and increase his card prices exponentially. And then if we look a little bit further down to here, I just want to highlight here his swing percentage. He's showing that he only swung the ball at 39.4% of pitches, but made contact on 71.1% this previous season. That is something that he's going to choose when he wants to swing, and we can see that due to his eye that he has. But when he does decide to swing, he's making really good contact consistently. This is one stat that I don't know if Fangraphs has it for minor leagues, but these would kind of be how we're seeing, is he swinging out of the zone, inside the zone, and stuff like that. It's only available that I can see to major league players, but that would be one thing that if you do have access to that, would be another indicator. Is he swinging at pitches outside of the zone, inside the zone? Does he not chase at all? Does he only swing at pitches in the zone? I would like to think, just due to his really good eye that we can see with these walk rates, that I would think that he's swinging mainly here, and this Z percentage would be pretty high for his swing percentage as well as contact, considering his contact rate is so high. But if we look here just at his splits, this is kind of what I talked about earlier with the Florida State League being a hitter-friendly league primarily. The Reds Stadium, as we can see at home, he did hit a lot better, and that's not solely due to the fact that it's a hitter-friendly ballpark where he's going to have a better average. That's mainly kind of with pop. And as we can see, he did have quite a few more doubles that he did at home than away. But we can see his power numbers were still there away. His OPS was just about what it was at home when he was away. I think this just is a player that is excelling at hitting the ball, especially in this previous season, and a guy that I'm thinking is going to continue to do that. As we can see here, he faced 7 total games where he played a younger pitcher, only 11 at-bats against a younger pitcher. Excluding his walks, 15 total plate appearances. That is insane that a guy could win MVP in a league like this where he is one of the youngest guys in the league and consistently, day after day, playing older, more experienced pitchers. It's a big reason why I love him. Now, the last thing I want to focus on here is some of his cards. And like I said earlier, I have invested a lot into him, and I'm still currently trying to buy him, this is the perfect time. The market has dipped. I mean, you see some of these prices here hovering around 140 for a base auto with a pop of 286. But when you look at some of his refractors, is another thing that I posted or decided to highlight here, we can see the value is 229 versus 140, not even double when you're at one third, less than a third of the pop count. I mean, it's something that I think this is more value. If you can find some of these, maybe go on eBay, and if you can try and get one for a buy it now, a lot of his stuff that's selling for his numbered cards, and that's just these are the most two recent sales. But we can see his numbered cards here auction, where a lot of these are just going to buy it now because you don't see too many of these numbered cards going for auctions. People are holding on to them, putting really big buy it now prices, just listening to offers. So one thing I would say is if you can try and swoop in, I would say if you want to minimize your risk, here you go for these base autos. It's still only a pop 286, where you can still get some good value. Try and get one for around 130, 140, and just see if he has another big season where he makes another jump like he did, going up almost 50 spots in the top 100. If he can move into that top 15, top 10, he's currently rated as the fourth best catching prospect. So if we can see him make some more improvements on the defensive end, get himself into that number one or number two conversation, which would be difficult just due to these really good catchers that there are in the top prospects right now. But I think you can see these make a bigger jump. And that's something that I would think is a good investment to, if you want to minimize your risk, get some of these bases. If you want to, have a little bit higher of a risk profile just because you're spending more money and it's a prospect, but have that chance to get a way higher return on your investment with these refractors, that is something that I would look into, whether it's a refractor or if you want to look at some of his even more lower numbered cards. I think there's a couple I would stay away mainly from the non-true colors, but if you can't find any, which there are none, I've been looking, of true colors like orange or gold, an orange shimmer or an orange wave is not the worst investment to make as well, just to have some super low numbered, low pop PSA 10 cards. That's what I would recommend. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think Duno is a good buy right now? Do you think he's a guy that you would like to wait and see when he starts off next season, most likely in high A and with the chance to move to double A? Is this a guy you're buying, or do you think there's better buys? Let me know down in the comments below if there's another player you'd like to see me feature in another one of these just overview videos, or let me know your thoughts on Duno.